Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the Life of a Clown. Hello, this is Gherkin and you're listening to Ridiculous Life of a Clown, and today I'm talking to Kelsey Custard of Pi and Cirque Du Soleil and many other things. Kelsey, please tell everyone who you are and what you do.
My name is Kelsey and I'm a clown. That's what I do. You want specifics of...
Sure.
In life and things?
Sure.
I started with a comedy troupe called Pi, the physical comedy troupe, in college, and then I moved on to work for Cirque Du Soleil in Las Vegas for the show Ka. And then the last 4 years, I've been touring with Cirque Du Soleil's Onluna until the great shutdown. So now I do a lot of nothing, but normally I do a lot.
So what brought you to clown in the very first place?
I think I've just always been a clown my whole life. So I didn't even know that clowning was a job that you could do. I grew up in a really small town in Northern California, and I'd never seen the circus or anything like that. And when I went to college, I took a clown class with Patty Gallagher and fell in love and was like, what is this crazy art that fit me so well? And I loved how expressive it could be and how it could be, and also how terrifying it could be, you know? And I fell in love then and just decided to switch my life of doing classical theater into clowning.
That's very cool. So you were going to school to study classical theater?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought I'd be a great, Shakespearean actress. Then I became a great clown, so it worked out much better, I think.
That's great. So after Patty Gallagher, you came up to San Francisco and attended the Clown Conservatory.
Yes, I did, with you.
I was going to say, I think you're the only person from our class who's been on the podcast.
Really?
I mean, Texas wasn't really in our class, even though she toured with us. So, and she's been on the podcast once, but I think there's no one else from our class who's been on the podcast.
Ooh, I'm the first.
Yeah. You're only the second Pi clown.
Really?
Leah is the only other Pi clown I've had on the podcast so far.
Oh, nice.
Because everyone's always too busy.
Yeah, it's well, these days we shouldn't be as busy, but we find ways to keep busy.
The pandemic's been a big help to me to that degree. I'm producing a lot more episodes this year than I have in the last few years.
That's awesome.
I think so. So what is integral to your work? What is at the core of what you do as a clown? What is the middle part, the basis, the structure?
Well, you're really getting into it right away, aren't you? I don't know the answer to that question, or I don't know how to phrase it. I think the core, I guess, is putting you out there, like that amplified self of you, and not putting on anything else that anyone else wants you to be or do. Like one of the things I've done with Onluna, this show, was I went into a role that already existed. And had I just done it the way that they asked me to when I started and done it exactly how this other woman had done it, it would have flopped and failed. Anytime I tried to do her jokes or do her things, they flopped and failed. And I'd realized it before, but that really helped me learn that it is all about you and taking those parts of you, those hard parts of you, the parts you're afraid to share, and putting them out there. Does that answer it?
Well, it helps. I mean, vulnerability is definitely a huge part of what we do. I think most of us can agree on that. Let's roll backwards a little bit to the Clown Conservatory. What was that like for you?
It was hard. I mein, we had an interesting year with teachers and classmates and things. But I'm so thankful I did it, because had I not done it, I never would have found this path that I've been on. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from it actually was the networking and the people I met there. I mean, obviously also many of the skills we learned, but I feel like I also didn't learn that many skills on the skill level, like juggling and hat tricks and, those sorts of things. I didn't retain any of it. I don't know about you, but I feel like that stuff was cool to learn. And then it was like, okay.
Yeah, as far as skills, most of the circus skills I have, I picked up after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, but just doing those core classes. And I think like we had those Fridays where we had guest teachers or those blocks with Jeff. Like those, I think, were the meat of it and the best part of it for me. That helped me kind of find that vulnerability and my clown and my voice. So it was good, but it was hard.
Yeah, no, it was real hard. I remember crying a lot. It wasn't easy. And it was a tough year, and we lost a lot of people, and Jeff was doing Cirque at the time, and it was definitely there were struggles involved, but it was I feel like, well, out of everyone I've talked to, which hasn't been a lot of us, that we all got a lot out of it. We got a lot of value from our time at the Clown Conservatory.
Yeah, it's a big part of my life.
So I'm going to guess your answer would probably be Patty Gallagher. So aside from Patty Gallagher, what teacher has influenced or impacted you the most? And you can talk about Patty too, but because I love Patty and I want to hear about her as well.
Yeah.
But who are the teachers that have impacted and affected you the most in your pursuit of this form?
Well, interestingly, I would start with my high school drama teacher, Karen Harnden, because when I was wee and loving to act and not really knowing that this could be a job or anything, she kind of at one point pulled me aside and was like, you're good, but you're not very good. And you have to work hard at it if you want to make this a career. And like, she kind of set me on this, like she told me the truth, and I feel like that made me kind of sit back even at like 16 and go, oh, do I want to be even just acting as a job? Do I really want to do that? And I'm going to have to work hard because I might have, talent, but it's not enough to get you through. So she was kind of that first teacher that really made me sit back and think about it as a life. And then Patty is she knows it. I love her the most. She's my ultimate guru. And just taking that first class with her, I fell in love with her. She's my girl crush for sure. Don't tell her that though.
Okay. I don't think she listens, so we're okay.
Well, she will now, probably. No, but she was just so amazing, and her presence, just her as a person, made you want to be her, and it's like, how did you get to this point? And teach me the ways of how you became such a glorious human. And in Clown Conservatory, all our teachers were amazing, but Peggy was one of the most influential for me. I'll never forget her teaching us the makeup and talking about the BAs, Mm-hmm. And then when I joined Cirque, they made me do a full lip, and all I could think about was Patty sitting in the background going, they're going to look like a busted asshole. But she was just the best.
She was amazing. I get choked
up thinking about it. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay to feel things.
Yeah. I feel a lot of things these days.
So when you go about creating new work yourself, what is your process for creating a new piece or a new role?
Well, I'm terrible at it. I have a really hard time working by myself. So when I create new work, even if it is going to eventually just be a me piece, I have to find a group that I can work with, which is why I worked with Pi so well. And now I have a group called Circus Nonsense that I work with as well, which includes Suzanne, who's one of our alumni also. Yeah. But that's integral for me to start because I don't know how to formulate the ideas that I have. and it's a thing I'm constantly fighting and trying to figure out. But and then it's just the play, like whatever idea I have, whatever crazy thing, it's let's play and just throw every tiny weird little crazy bit out and see what happens, because I don't know how to write material without just playing and then grabbing those things and putting them together, which I think is how most of us do it, frankly. But
I think, I mean, it's been a while since I created a new straight clown piece. I think I do a lot of it in my head, but I mean, that's still it's about the play. It's about throwing things at the screen and seeing what sticks. So to that degree, without getting in front of an audience, how do you know you're doing good work? How do you know you're going in the right direction before you get up there and get people laughing?
Because it makes me laugh. I mean, I figure if it's making me laugh, then that's got to be a good start to something, right? Because that means I'm enjoying it. Even if it's not brilliant work, at least that means I'm having fun. Otherwise, I don't know how you know. I mean, working with friends, which is why it's so integral for me, I think. Because if we can make each other laugh in a rehearsal, then there's two of us laughing, and maybe there's three of us laughing. And then I feel like if we can just make ourselves enjoy it, then other people will.
Yeah.
Seems to have worked. I don't know.
I mean, there are billions of people on Earth. Yeah. There's going to be someone who thinks the same things are funny that you do.
Right? And there's a lot of people that don't, and that's okay too.
I was just thinking back, because you mentioned Suzanne, to our tour at Clown Conservatory, and how we ended up. I think, did Suzanne get hurt, and that's what happened? Someone got hurt, and then we ended up doing a 4-person act instead of our 2-people acts.
Yeah, they combined ours.
I really enjoyed our restaurant scene thing that we did.
It's still one of my favorite things I've done. Because I think we brought such 4 different characters together in a way that I wouldn't have expected them to come together. Mm-hmm. And we came up with such crazy fun ideas and used a lot of those. Like, you did all the plates, right?
I think, yeah. We did plates and spaghetti. And...
this jump roping spaghetti. It was my favorite.
Yes, jump roping spaghetti. I remember that now. That was great.
Where we had that big ball that we pulled apart and jump roped.
Yeah, it was an interesting piece. So what is the role, not necessarily but a role or project that you are most proud of? It doesn't have to be the most, but among the most proud of. What's something that you were particularly proud of?
I mean, there are, a few, but I don't know, it feels weird to say, but Onluna was the thing I think I'm the most proud of, because it was a show that toured the world, but I got to really take that character and make it my own. And I was a through line of the show, and I had to carry a lot. I had to do a lot. And I think I did it well. It's kind of, I don't know, feels weird to say, but we have to know where we are on those things. And I just put so much of myself into it, and I could see everywhere we went, every country we went to, every audience we went to, that they liked it and accepted it and loved it and laughed at it. And it's, I think, the first time I knew that I could carry something on my own.
Okay. So what was your road to Cirque in the first place?
What do you mean?
How did you end up in a Cirque du Soleil show?
Well, so this goes back to connections, right? When I was working with Pi in San Francisco and I was done with Clown Conservatory, Jeff Raz, who also was an amazing teacher, he called me and said, you need to do this Cirque audition. So it wasn't giving me a part or anything, but he was just telling me, this is an audition that I need you to do. So I applied and they accepted me, probably because he was running the audition. So, that helps. It helps to know people. And And then there were 80 clowns at that audition. And at the end, there were 6, which was crazy. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done. That audition was insane. And terrifying because they would have you do like walk across the room and then send you out of the room and only call half back. Just from walking across the room.
Yeah, I love those Cirque auditions. I love those giant cattle call, like 80 people down to 4 people auditions. But I blew mine. I got like 5 callbacks, and by the end of it, they were like, "You had so much time to prepare," and they didn't even say anything good. They're just, you know how at the end of the cattle call they tell, "This is the things you did well. These are the things you need to work on." And after my last audition, they were just like, "You had so much time to prepare."
Whoa.
There was some confusion as to what.
That was for the Elvis show, right?
No, it's for Love.
Oh, for Love.
Yeah, it's for Mr. Piggy. And there was some confusion as to which accent I was supposed to be doing. It seemed like they had switched that at the last minute. And instead of doing a British upper class, I was supposed to be doing Cockney. And my Cockney sounds Australian. And it was just not good.
Sorry, not funny at the time, but funny now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone in the room was laughing except for the casting director. Yeah. Yeah. So I just felt like I shot myself in the foot pretty bad because they've never reached back out to me again. But you've had a really, really positive, successful run with them. So first Caw, right?
Yeah. So at the end of that audition, Onluna wasn't even on my list of shows, but they were like, "Welcome to Cirque. Here's the list of shows we think you'd be good for." And then I did acts for those shows, which I had never seen any of them. So I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I thought I blew it so hard because the director kept being like, "No, do this. No, do this. No, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." And I thought I left it going, well, I made it in, quote unquote, but yeah, right. We'll see. And then 9 months later, they called me and said, "Can you move to Vegas?" They called first asking if I could come and audition. And I said, yes. Then they asked me if I could move. And I said, "What's the show like?" And they told me that it had no stage floor. And I told them I'm terrified of heights. And they said, "Thank you, goodbye," and clicked.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, I blew it so hard. I had 7 conversations with them about my fear of heights, in which they explained what it was. And I told them I think I could handle it because it didn't sound so bad. It was being lifted in a bag, 40 feet, whatever. And then they gave me a contract and told me to move to Vegas in a week.
And you moved to Vegas, and how long before you're up on stage doing the show?
It took 2 months.
Oh.
Caw is a intense show. And it's a 10-story theater without any floors. So there's a lot of moving pieces and it's a lot of things. But the reason it took so long, which is ridiculous, is my costume. So I went to Montreal and like got fitted and did all this crazy stuff there. And my costume is this big piece of leather with boobs and a belly. And it got stuck at customs because it was real leather for a month. So I would have been on stage much sooner had this costume not gotten stuck. But you can't go on stage without a costume. So.
And how many shows a week were you doing?
10. Some weeks 12. But they're 90-minute shows, so it's not as bad as it sounds, you know?
And for how long did you do Caw?
6 years.
6 years. So that's,
on and off.
That's a lot of shows.
It's a lot of shows. It's a lot of shows, yeah.
So then I guess the next step is, how did you transition from Caw to Onluna?
Well, so the whole time I was at Caw, I was taking over there's 2 ladies that do the character. Because she's in 2 places coming from the ceiling and coming up from above.
Oh, okay.
So it's a double cast job. And luckily for me, one had a baby, the other broke her knee, the other had another baby, the other broke her arm. So I happened to work all that time, but it was on these temporary contracts.
Okay.
And so I was working when Onluna contacted me, but because I didn't have a permanent contract and they wanted me for a more permanent job, I could easily jump. And they started contacting me and actually contacted me and asked me and then told me they took someone else.
Oh.
Which was heartbreaking. But what are you going to do? That happens. And then 2 months later, they called me and said, can you join the tour in Germany? And I said, yes.
And
so
then
I went to Montreal for a few weeks and then.
So you went to Montreal for a few weeks to learn the role?
Yeah, which was crazy because I had to learn it without my partner because it's a female and a male clown. And I had to learn it and present it to all of the bigwigs at Cirque by myself. So doing a clown act, pretending that your partner's there, it was crazy and so nerve-wracking, but kind of really fun. But I got to, and they helped me. There was this wonderful woman named Mishu. I don't know her last name. I don't know how to find her. She's also one of the best clown teachers I've ever had. She like helps you bring out those weird little bits in you that you didn't know existed and I hadn't gotten to play with in so long at Ka. And she would just like let me play and go crazy. And we got to kind of rebuild these acts without my partner, which was kind of weird. And then when I got to Germany, we had to come together and marry our two acts. It was complicated, but it was fun.
So who was your partner?
I've had 3 of them, but Aaron DeWitz was my first partner, and he was a German clown, which was great for me because we were in Germany and I didn't speak any German and had a panic attack. My very first one, the first day I got there. I panic attacked real hard, but he was there and he helped me through a lot of it. And
that's super great. So then you're with Onluna for, you said 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic happened.
So we were supposed to go to China in March of 2020. For 2 years, we were supposed to go and be in China. And then pandemic. And so they just closed our show. So our show will never reopen.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's heavy duty.
It was heavy, but kind of nice in a way because we got to say goodbye. Like there's a lot of shows, not just Cirque, but around the world that got this cut off and thought they were going to go back and then never did and now won't get to. But like we got an ending, which I'm really thankful for in the end.
So what was that last show like?
Oh, it was terrible. And Patty Gallagher came to my very final show and I cried so hard. Oh, I'll never forget it. It was really emotional, but it was really cool because they let us fill the audience with friends. Like they gave everyone, 2 tickets so my parents could come. Patty got a ticket. I had a few other friends there. So it was very emotional. Something I've never experienced. With Cirque, you don't get to close shows. People leave, but there's not an ending. So it's still going on without you and that it can exist without you and it doesn't matter, kind of. But this was a very final thing. And at the end, everyone came on stage, every crew member, families, like everyone came on stage and it was emotional for sure. Miss it.
Sounds amazing. So what's your relationship with Cirque now? Are you just, is it amorphous? Do you have no idea?
I have no idea. I mean, I still am part of them, but there's no jobs for me. I mean, if someone left Ka, I guess the new show in Florida, I could probably do, I've been told, but everyone's going to go back to their jobs now. So I don't know. And plus I've lost weight and they told me to never lose weight. So, so I don't know. They told me once that if I lost another, because I'd lost some weight because I was feeling unhealthy, they told me if I lost 1 more pound, I would be unhireable. So
We
I've
work in
lost
a we work in an
45
industry.
pounds. Yeah, it's crazy. Little aerialists also like they can't gain weight. I can't lose weight. It's like no one thinks it goes both ways, but it really does because it's a look. I mean, it's your character, it's many things, but it's also a look. And I don't think they would actually not hire me, but
Yeah, but you don't know. You never know.
Yeah, never know.
So let's go all the way back to the very beginning. What are some media, be it movies or TV, whatever, any kind of media? What are some media that influenced who the clown you became is? If that sentence makes sense. What media influenced the clown you became, and maybe what's some media that you think is underrated or overlooked that more people should be paying attention to as clowns?
That is a very hard question for me. I'm not so much a media person. Um, so I I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. I would
Okay.
say like all the old films of Buster Keaton. He's one of those that I really loved, although it's something I can never do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that floppy and magical. Um, but he also has great timing and um I don't know. I grew up watching musicals. That's what I loved. And I don't know. That's
Musicals is good. Do you have favorites?
Sorry.
It's good. What are your favorites amongst the musicals?
I was a kid who loved Rent because every teenager loved Rent when I was a teenager. But I love like all the good classics with the big dancing and the big numbers, like Will Rogers Follies. Just watching those crazy ladies. Ragtime is one of my favorite musicals, but that's because you're watching people dance and sing and have emotion, and I think that's a really hard thing to do. And something I really love about clowning too is that you're laughing at them while they're being emotional. Like I love to make people laugh while I'm crying, which probably says a lot about my, psychology, but it's just one of those things. I think being able to thoroughly enjoy something while someone is having such a terrible time is an amazing thing.
I agree. That's kind of like a reverse Schadenfreude. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super great. Going back to before Cirque, because
Mm-hmm.
you've mainly done Cirque for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sure you've had other gigs in the process, but
Yeah.
going back over the whole course of your career as a clown, what is a particularly weird gig that you've had? What is the weirdest thing that you've had to do?
A weird gig. I did this event with Velocity Circus, which if anyone's ever done gigs with them, I think sometimes they can be pretty weird. And I was in a Mona Lisa box.
Okay.
So it was like this giant Mona Lisa. So my head was real. And I stood in the De Young Museum and pretended to be a real piece of art. But they really loved my hair because my hair used to be, down to my butt.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pulled it out of the box. So I had just my face, but then all this hair like sticking out like a beard. And I don't know, that's just one of the weirdest because I had to just be a piece of art, but could talk to people, but had to be a piece of art. And in a museum where there's art, but obviously not the Mona Lisa. That was a weird one.
That is a weird one.
It was it was just one of the most bizarre ones. I don't know. I always had a weird time doing birthday parties too. I did very few and I did not like them. I'm not one of those.
Did you do them with pie or did you do them with?
Yeah.
I didn't know pie did birthday parties.
We don't, and we did. You know, if someone asks who loves you,
Yeah.
why not? You know, a gig's a gig. But we would do a show, but then kids always want balloon animals, but we don't do balloon animals. And kids wanted like the face painting, which we didn't bring. We were just going to do a show and kind of walk around, and it was weird.
Clown isn't for kids.
No,
I mean, it's for families. It's for all ages, but it's not. It's not for kids. Anyway. That's a whole other debate as to what is and isn't clown.
Yeah, I've never thought of myself as a clown for children. I like going into the weird and the dirty too much.
I mean, my main act, I don't know if you've seen my main act, but the main act I do is burlesque. You know, I'm up there naked for
I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, it kills. But I mean, I'm a awkward fat naked guy dancing in a very awkward way.
Perfect.
I come out, I spend about 2 or 3 minutes talking while just taking off my clothes, and then I dance for about a minute, and that's the whole act. And it's a 7 veils thing with some Kleenex, and I've got nothing but Kleenex in front of my junk and some socks on, and it's great. I mean, I love doing children's entertainment. I love doing children's educational entertainment, especially.
Yeah.
But that's just such a small segment of what we do as an art form.
I think that's what was hard for me too with Cirque is it has to be for every age. So there were times where I had to curb myself. The things I wanted to do that you can kind of get away with, but also you can't because there are always kids in that audience.
Well, unless you're Zumanity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that still? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's probably kids that go to that too. Because
that's just weird.
People in Vegas just don't get it.
Yeah. Okay. A few more questions before we wrap up. What is a role or project that you've always wanted to do but couldn't because of logistics or timing or money or whatever? But what's something that you've always wanted to do and haven't been able to do yet?
It's so many things. I think the one thing that I've always dreamed of doing is doing a musical on Broadway, which will never, ever happen in my life because I don't sing, I don't dance. I clown, but I want to sing and dance in front of an audience. I love it so much, and I just will never, ever do it.
Okay, that totally fits the question. So, let's see. What do you have coming up? What are you doing now? You said Circus Nonsense. What's going on for you currently and in the near future?
So Circus Nonsense, we created ourselves in 2019. And we did a show at Kinetic in Oakland that actually won 2 Theater Bay Area awards, which was crazy.
Very cool.
And through the pandemic, we've kind of been trying to keep it going via Zoom and whatever we can. But it looks like we got our first gig. I don't want to jinx it, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But it's a group of people all from kind of that time period. Ori, if you remember him, Suze, Molly from Circus Finale is part of it. So we're the Orlean Gentile and some of her kids. So it's kind of this ragtag group of people that we all had always wanted to work together. But because we've all been busy and doing work all the time, we never could. So we decided when we had a little bit of time to just do a show. And now we're still creating and hopefully going to do this gig in July, at the end of July.
So are you still in the Bay Area? I thought you were farther south.
I'm in Sacramento, so close, but we're actually all over the place. So we're coming together to the Bay for a few weeks to create a show and hopefully taking it up north. So
that's very cool. Okay.
So cool.
I guess the last question is, unless I missed something, I've got a little set. I've got notes that I'm reading
I know
off
I
of.
should have made notes. I haven't done interviews in a year and I was so nervous.
Oh, I feel sweet. Okay, so two more questions. Where can people find you if you want to be found on the internet and so on? How can they follow you or find your work?
I have a website, although I haven't updated it in a little bit, but it's kelseycustard.com.
That's Kelsey, Custard with a C.
Custard. So that's my website, and then I have an Instagram, Facebook. I don't know, the usual ways.
Okay. And lastly, last question: if you could tag 3 other people to be on the podcast after you, who would they be?
Ooh, well, I would say Leah, but you already did her. You should do Tyler Parks if he can do it.
Okay.
Suzanne Santos for sure.
Okay.
And I think you should do Orlean Gentile also.
I've had Orlean.
Oh, you have?
Yep. Last year before the pandemic, I did a bunch of people from Circus Bella.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So great minds. Speaking alike.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you talk to Suzanne, tell her I'm definitely interested in having her on the podcast, and I'll try and reach out to her. I don't know if I have contact for her right now, but I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah, because she's been doing a lot with Zope Family Circus, and she's been clowning her little heart out. And
okay. Cool.
Doing good. She's in Las Vegas now, I think.
Las Vegas? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
It's a place to go.
Kelsey, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will talk to you again very soon, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. This program, as always, is made possible by your support through our Patreon, which you can find through www.picklewater.com. Theme song by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech Music.